I was there like in my cocoon and just like my bubble of love and rediscovery. And I just remember my mother coming in and she was looking at this painting. I was like, that is so beautiful. Look how like all the details and everything. I was like, thank you, Mom. This is actually made with my blood. The horror, the horror in her face. Like from wow to ugh.
Welcome to Eros and Earth. Today's episode is a deep, embodied conversation about menstrual art, womb healing, and menstrual cycle awareness. We talk about how to work directly with your menstrual blood and how that can repair period shame, heal trauma, and restore a woman's relationship with her body. My guest, Jasmine, is a pioneer of menstrual art, a womb worker, body worker, and mother who has spent over a decade exploring what happens when a woman stops fighting their periods and starts listening to them. We talk about painting with menstrual blood as a somatic and spiritual practice, why menarche and a woman's first period story shapes her confidence and nervous system for life, and how ritual and rites of passage have been lost in modern culture. This conversation weaves together womb healing practices, somatic healing, feminine embodiment, and the science of how shame, grief, and traumas get stored in the body, and how they can be gently released through art, devotion, and presence. We also explore motherhood, birth, the body as nature, and how reclaiming the menstrual cycle is not just personal healing, but cultural repair. If you've been searching for ways to deeply connect with your body, to understand your menstrual cycle better, or understand your womb better, this episode is for you. All right. Hi, Jasmine. Welcome.
Hi, Megan. Thank you. Excited to be here today.
I'm so glad you're here. This is the first time we're actually meeting in person. I came across you on Instagram on one of those rare moments when the algorithm works in my favor and I find someone who's really cool and feels like a soul sister across the world. But haven't been in, a shared room or a shared space until now. So pleasure to be here.
One of the reasons why I'm so grateful for the perks of having social media in this life, right?
It's true.
And all the odds and all the shadows that it brings, but also the deep, beautiful connections that we're able to establish is absolutely everything. So wholesome. So much gratitude.
Yeah, me too. So one of the things I came across on your Instagram that I was immediately intrigued by was this beautiful reel of you making menstrual art. And right now I see behind you all these amazing menstrual art pieces. How did you come up with this practice? How did this come?
Yeah, it's always so beautiful to dive in deep into that. It's been 10 years. This year, 2026, marks 10 years since I
Anniversary.
this practice. So thank you so much. It's a really big year for me. Just to sit with how it began and what it became, right? And just like looking at all of the ripples that this work has brought in my life and the life of so many women. It came to me as I would call a desperate attempt to really understand the contents of my womb because I was coming from deep rooted, deep seated, absolute horrifying pain every single month with my bleed. I was not diagnosed, but I was pretty sure to have endometriosis. I was having multiple cysts in my ovaries. There was a lot going on in my uterus, and I was really young. I was like in my 20s in a time where like there's so much exploration and doing and every time that my bleed come in was a curse. It was something to dread. It was also just remembering when my first bleed came was welcomed with so much shadow and so much taboo. And my mother just like, oh, welcome to the club, like, oh, this is absolutely disgusting to be a woman. And that's what I came in. This is the information that I was brought in, having my bleed for the first time. So that was my history. And I know that so many women can absolutely find themselves, right, in this kind of experience. I began my journey into spirituality, into a path of Buddhism, Tantric Buddhism. And that was almost 14 years ago. So before menstrual art actually came. And it was a beautiful journey of self-discovery and understanding why there was pain in my life, why there was so much suffering. And I was very diligent in my practice, reciting all the mantras and being really, really devoted into that. And amazing. It brought me so much clarity and so much peace. Whereas there was always this missing link of, yeah, but there's something with my body that it's still not working. Okay. I understood the patterns of my relationship. I understood the patterns of the self-loathing and the self-deception and all this, but there was always something in my body in which a lot I just found myself constantly perpetrating the same patterns over and over again. I'm like, why? What is going on here? I still don't find my place as a woman in this world. I still hate my periods. I still dread my body. I still am trying to look pretty in a society that is putting so much pressure in being a woman. Like, where do I put all of that? Right? Meditating is not enough.
Mm.
And I was brought into plant ceremony. So also Mother Ayahuasca has been an absolute game changer in my life. She brought so much insight in so many aspects of my life until the day in which I sat with her and it was my first day of bleed. And there was a part of me, I remember the shamans also saying, like, you shouldn't actually sit during ayahuasca when you're on your bleed.
Mm.
And there was this part of me really instinctual and really like rebel like. It was like, I don't want to have nothing to do with this. Like, I'm gonna sit anyway. And this is like, it was a deep, deep, deep rooted call. And thank God, because it was like a before after moment. That was the first time ever I was lifted the veil and really understood what period is.
Mm.
What is this death? What is happening in a whole physiological body level, emotion, spirit? Everything is taken into account. It's not something that is happening only in my uterus. It's something that is happening in the totality of my systems in all layers. And it was like the most aha. I just awoke. I really felt like it was an illumination to the period phase. And it
Mm.
was so powerful. It was so incredible. It was so much loss, so much grief, but also so much renewal and so much re-embracing the cyclicality that is woman
Mm.
and art. There's so many layers. Art has always been a very deep, beautiful ally in my journey of self-discovery. I started painting and drawing since I was 3 years old. My mother would say that if any occasion I had to paint, to draw, I would absolutely do it. I loved exploring, experimenting. I did all sorts of things. And it was just like a aha moment where my spiritual path, my artistic love, and my period blood all came together into I have to paint with this. Like it's obvious. It's obvious that this has to happen. And then I just remember trembling with the sense of I'm going to do something so weird. This is so off. This is so like they're going to think that I'm nuts. But it just felt so alive. I just felt so much aliveness. There was so much emotion. There was so much bigness. And I collected my bleed with a menstrual cup. I sat down with this piece of paper and I started drawing my first ever mandala. And wow, that was like the holy grail, the moment where I took the deepest exhale at the cellular memory, all the way down into the depths of my bones. And I really felt this is home. I finally found my place. This is where I belong. Yes, thank goddess.
Wow.
And my pains, all of my pains started to relinquish while I was actively painting because I was finally giving pain a voice. So I
Mm.
was painting my endometriosis. I was painting my PCOS. I was painting my pain. And in doing that, it was giving me so much information about where I am in my life. What are the things, the patterns that I'm perpetrating at a somatic body level that are impeding me to really bloom and flourish as a woman?
Wow.
And that's the rest is history.
Mm. Mm. I love that story. Thank you. It is so beautiful. I've been studying and teaching about menstruation and women's cycles for like 10 years, but I've never physically painted with my blood until this cycle. And what I love about the practice is it's so visceral and so embodied. It's not intellectual, right? I'm literally like I'm taking blood from my body and painting with it. And this was a particularly important cycle because we were trying to conceive baby number 3. And so when I got my period, I was quite sad. There was a lot of grief. And it was such a beautiful practice for me to sit with those feelings without changing them, as you were saying, and to paint the feeling, like the longing for this baby, the grief that it wasn't this cycle, and to notice the textures, how my blood changed day to day. So
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
Wow, that is so special, so special. Thank you so much for sharing this story. It's so remarkable how it really allows us to accompany and major thresholds in our life, especially when there's grief,
Yeah.
because grief is like love that has nowhere to go, right? And this is
So,
just one of those places where you're like, wow, I get to use art, and this is the piece of art, the therapeutic aspect of art, that we get to use our emotions to really create beauty.
yeah.
And especially grief, especially rage, especially those emotions that we consider to be too big and that are deemed by society like something so taboo and something that we need to repress rather than allow to flow. That is the beauty of art. And when you actually putting blood in the equation,
Mm.
it makes it all so more powerful because you're using your life force, you're using your like this cellular memory, this incredible fluid that is created by an entire month of happenings inside of your life into, an incredible creation of devotion and beauty and prayer, depending on the intention that you're bringing onto it. So it has truly life-changing potential.
So true. And I love the feeling into like, wow, this that my body was preparing for this baby. It's not going to be used for a baby, but it's being used for art and devotion. And but I will say, I told some of my friends I'm doing menstrual art, and they were like, they thought I was joking. And I said, no, I'm really painting with my blood. Do you want to do it with me? And there was this immediate like ick, even from my friends who are deeply embodied and in their feminine. And so I can imagine you've encountered a lot of cultural shame as you bring this
No way.
practice into the world. What's that been like for you?
Yes, of course. And it's been an incredible journey also of embracing the shadow that this work can bring.
Mm.
It's been when I first sat with my first ever mandala, with my first ever period art, I was there like in my cocoon and just like my bubble of love and rediscovery. And I just remember my mother coming in and she was looking at this painting. I was like, that is so beautiful. Look how like all of the details and everything. I was like, thank you, Mom. This is actually made with my blood. The horror, the horror in her face.
Yeah.
Like from wow to ugh. Like it was
Mhm.
so fascinating for me in that moment to see because something that was bringing me so much beauty and so much ease and peace, all of a sudden mirroring back with this face of disgust. That was the first moment in which this has something important to share in the world. Like this feels like something really medicinal. I couldn't really put my finger on because it was just so new. I couldn't understand what. But then I was also able to show it to other friends, and they were like, Jasmine, this is revolutionary. This is going to change women's lives. Like, you have to do it. So I was living with
Oh, I
this
got
duality.
goosebumps.
I had them too. Look, I was like,
Good.
well, okay, thank you. So I had the mirror of the antithesis, and I had the mirror of like, yes, this is something that needs to be brought into the world. And that's where I still live, right? I'm still like walking this lane where I just understand I'm doing this first and foremost for myself, for my own well-being, for my own spiritual advancement, and for my blooming as a woman. And then I'm always juggling these two verses where there's a lot of praise and a lot of Jasmine, this changed my life. This is amazing. And on the other side, like this is absolutely disgusting. You should be jailed. You should put in an asylum. And so juggling and just being in that duality, it taught me so much. It taught me so much about not getting attached by any outcome.
Mm.
It taught me so much about compassion, like deep rooted, true compassion. Because if I have to look at the hatred and the backlash, I was there too. I hated my period.
Mm.
It brought so much pain. It brought so much desperation. I hated being a woman.
Mm.
So I can understand. I can understand that point of view. And at the same time, like I just understand the act of courage it took because I remember still like this is crazy. I'm doing something that is completely weird. This is so off, but it wasn't from me. Like it took some time to really sit with myself, hence all of my meditation practice and the inquiry of awareness of just taking a step back and understanding who are these thoughts of? Are they really mine or are they conditioned? Are these something that has been brought into me, into my stream of consciousness? And I had to really sit, and that was the practice for me. It became a full meditation practice, a full spiritual practice to sit every single cycle with my bleed and really getting into the nitty gritty of all of these thought patterns that would come and how to dismantle them with gentleness, with art, and painting after painting, as these thoughts would just like come onto from like from myself onto paper, I started to become a vessel, completely empty. I would become empty. And I was like, wow, this is where we belong most of first and foremost. So powerful. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love when you were describing it as courage, right? Because I can imagine it would take a lot of courage. And I'm also hearing this like real internal fortitude of like,
Mm,
this matters to me,
yeah.
right? You can have all the thoughts you want, but this matters to me. And I'm noticing that it's rippling out and impacting other women. But first and foremost, this is something that's important to me.
Yeah.
And I love the sovereignty and the way you described that and the way you just claim that of like, this is something that I believe matters.
Thank you. I mean, because simply I was really understanding and feeling somatically in my body that something was changing. Like it was real. It was real. The pain was going away.
Mm,
Like the messages that I was receiving from my blood of like the food that you're eating is toxic. You have to start eating more from the earth. You need to touch dirt. You need to get really into the nitty gritty of like you really need to like it gave me so many beautiful, tangible, practical ways to
mm,
get out of the situation and the misery that I was feeling of being a woman. The
mm.
relationships that were not good for me.
Yeah.
I was always like prone to toxic relating and choosing men to fill up a void, whereas that void was being filled up by me.
Mm,
And then when men would come and see, like, you know, that the period art that you're doing is weird. Are you sure you want to do it? They were questioning. And at a certain point, I was like, like you love me when I'm this, but not when I'm this.
mm,
You don't belong here. You can't love everything. I'm so sorry, but you do not belong here. It's been
mm,
so, so diligent and so, so consistent in showing me all of those ways in which I was just like giving my power away.
mm.
I it, like so it's inevitable that
Wow.
I'm just doing it for myself first and foremost. Like it's
Yeah.
inevitable. I'm not attached to praise. I'm not attached to the negativity because the transformation is mine.
Wow.
And if you're welcome to come and to
Right.
bask into this if you want. If not, continue.
Power move, main character energy. Yeah, it sounds like it was really a listening practice for you, first and
Yeah.
foremost, of like a listening to your body and listening to your body's signals. Right. And you mentioned how one of the things you heard was get more connected with the earth. That's
Mhm.
one of the themes of this podcast is the more I'm listening to my body, I'm getting similar themes like, put my hands in the dirt, plant some seeds, put my feet on the grass. Like I need more of that earth element.
Yeah.
Have you had a
So
similar earth journey through this?
for sure. Over the years with menstrual art, it opened the doors for me to understanding everything. I just want to know everything. I started to get so curious and passionate about everything that I didn't know about being a woman. So
Mm,
I learned about the menstrual cycle wisdom and the cyclicality of all of our hormones and everything that is happening at a body level. And I came into nutrition and I came into body work, full on body work. It's been 2 years now that I actively do hands on, hands in work on women's bodies
amazing.
and I just came to realize more and more getting into the nitty-gritty, the more detail I get with the organs and the fascia and the tissues and the womb and everything that is happening, the fascia, the more I just understand there's like a whole universe in there. It like
Mm,
feels like an entire universe. And I really came to a deep realization once where I'm like, we're not like nature. We're not mirroring nature. We are literally nature. Like we are nature. We are one. We're just like intertwined so deeply. So whatever is happening inside, everything that we see, the severance that is happening in the world and all the major pollution in the middle of the oceans, those waters are our waters. And that pollution lives within us,
mhm,
and how we eat just mirrors exactly all of the estrogens and all of the hormones that are being implanted inside of the foods that we're eating is exactly what all the imbalances that are happening right now. Never there's been major reproductive imbalances like today in women's bodies
yeah,
because we can see how sick the world is at the same time. So if we're really devoted and bringing that devotion, bringing that prayer, bringing that consistency and creating the conditions for our bodies to thrive, nature is also benefiting. And when our blood is just like streaming down effortlessly without pads, without tampons, without sticking everything and just blocking the flow, the blood just naturally is drawn to go down into the earth. This is everything. And our blood is nourishing. It has so many nutrients. My pot plants are thriving. Every time someone comes into my home, they look at my plants and like, I have never ever seen those plants so healthy, so juicy in my life. And it's like, you want to know the secret? Are you ready for it?
Right. Menstrual blood.
Menstrual blood.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything that is woman
Mm.
is directly helping and supporting and helping Earth thrive and vice versa. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I'm with
Earth.
you. I love
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I think that connecting with our bodies is like a really tangible way to connect with the earth too. Right? You're gonna call it Mother Earth, and then our bodies are literally, you and I are both mothers.
Yeah.
Like, and that's such, and then when we take care of our bodies, we can also take care of the earth, and the two are connected. So I feel really
Mhm.
passionate about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a bit of a tangent, but another thing that really touched me about your Instagram was this video you did about how you would initiate your daughter into her first cycle and
Oh,
her first bleed. And I watched it and I got almost a little teary-eyed because I remembered my own first initiation. And it was not at all how you described in this beautiful idea. It was shame. Like I remember having my first bleed and crying, thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for this. I don't know what to do. I don't want to talk to anybody about it. Not really understanding how to use tampons and just feeling this like confused shame and isolation.
yeah.
And as you were saying, this is our initiation into womanhood. Why is it so important, a woman's story of her first bleed? Like, why does that memory matter so much?
My goodness, what a question. I just think, right, in the continuum, like I have two boys. So it's so fascinating, right, to see the difference in physiology, I would say.
Mm.
And there's a moment where boys and girls, they really don't have difference in the beginning.
Mm.
Right. Like that's why I love picking neutral colors. And I'm just like, you get to choose, you get to navigate the colors that you prefer, like the blue and the red, and just like putting those stereotypes. And I know in looking in the past, there are possibly still some cultures where they cut the hair the same from male and females, and just like you don't have to understand what is their gender. So, and then it comes a moment when they come up in age, and there's the menarche.
Mm-hmm.
And the menarche and everything in the woman body is made biologically for ritual, for thresholds, for rites of passage. And the first one that we encounter is menarche. That's the moment where we're having our first bleed. It means that our bodies are actually inside in that wheel of the cyclicality and we're becoming fertile. And that's the way of life to perpetuate life. And it's a miracle in itself.
Yeah.
And we have such a biological importance, right, in this world. So how that first imprint is lived in our experience as women will inform what it means for us to be women throughout our entire lives
Wow.
until and unless we're able to reclaim that. For
Mm-hmm.
me, it happened with menstrual art. I had my rite of passage. I had that moment of declaration and remembrance at a cellular memory that this matters because my first one that happened 10, 25, I don't remember when. I was 12 when that happened. And my first menstrual art was when I was 24. So 10 years prior, I was in the bathroom. I saw that stain on my underwear and I thought I was going to die. Like I remember just my getting so pale, the heartbeat rushing and just like feeling so dizzy. And I remember still the lights in the bathroom. Like I do remember all of those little details when you're just in shock, right? Like the trauma response just building. And then my eyes looking for comfort anywhere. There was my mother, which I had a horrible relationship at that time. She was in the military, so there was no space whatsoever for emotions.
Mm.
And she just looked at me. That I was in shock. She looked at my underwear. She just turned around, grabbed a pad, and handed that to me. And said, "Welcome to the club." She just went away, and she left me there like that. So there was a loneliness. There was solitude. There was a sense of this doesn't matter. There was a sense of loss. There was a sense of disorientation, and that accompanied me throughout my entire phase in which I finally understood where is my place in the world. That's the bigness of menstrual art in my life.
Wow.
So it really imprints and it really informs how we walk. If it comes with shame, you will feel in your body the shame of being a woman. And that's a huge, huge, huge deal. However we walk, how we speak, our posture, our voice, our willpower, our capacity to feel that we can get what we want in this world will all be drained by this shame, by this hidden shame that is leaking all of our life force away.
Wow.
It's such a big deal.
That's amazing. And it's one of those memories I think a lot of women might just have buried in their closet. Like I'm sure almost every woman remembers her first period, but it's not something I would consciously realize has such a big impact until I hear you or other teachers say, like, no, this is the moment a girl becomes a woman. And how do we help her across that threshold? Is it with shame, secrecy, and isolation, with judgment, or is it with celebration, community? Maybe this is a good moment to say, okay, you and I both didn't have great initiations into our bleed. How would you want it to be if you had a daughter?
Hmm. Yeah, so I mentioned, I mean, I would love it to be, and I know myself as a teenager, right? It's a moment where there's a lot of that is happening hormonally. We're into the cyclicality. And so we're before the bleed, we're like in the premenstrual phase. So it's a little bit crunchy. There's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of sensitivity. We're trying to find our independence, we're trying to find our voice in the world. So there's a lot going on. So I'm always mindful of that because I also interact a lot with teenagers in my life. And I went also holding circles, women's circles inside of, high schools, which is absolutely incredible and
That is
informs a
so
lot.
cool. Okay, wait,
That
I
is,
want to talk about that next.
that is so cool. But it actually informed me a lot about like how would a modern way of bringing awareness and celebration into a menarche look like. And so I was like, I would keep it chill. I would keep it chill. There's so many so many mamas out there that are just like, I reclaim my period blood. I would love her to understand everything that I know. And you just like, it's so excited. And you're just like squealing and all of these things, like the height of that emotion. Sometimes, and oftentimes for teenagers, a little bit of put off. Yeah, they get a little bit like, what is going on? And they get more frightened. It's like the polar opposite. It's the polar opposite of
Right.
the
The pendulum
indifference.
swing.
Yeah. So just being mindful of that, like coming from a place of devotion. When I say devotion, right? Like the word devotion, it just grounds you.
Mm,
There's like the prayer, it grounds you. There's a nervous system settlement in it.
mm,
And just like, wow, this is such a sacred moment. And so I'm coming from this sense of like, oh, this is a sacred portal that we're entering right now.
mm,
And I would definitely hug her. I would be there understanding like how are you feeling, understanding how is her experience rather than putting onto my experience like, oh, you need to need this, you need to know this. It's
mm,
rather like how is this opening a door inside of yourself? Like what are you feeling? Is there pain? How are your emotions? I would get so curious about her inner world right now. I would definitely prepare a little basket with all of the necessities, the main necessities like menstrual underwear to allow her to have an easeful bleed. I will make her understand like pads and tampons are probably full of chemicals, so we would rather use natural options. I will give her a menstrual cup and just explain to her how it works. And if she does like the idea of inserting something or not, there are different options. I would just like walk her through all of the different possibilities and chances. I would definitely explain to her about period art, but I mean, since I'm already doing period art and also my sons, I see them, they're growing into this environment with me.
mm,
It's not something, wow, every time mom has her bleed, they just know what to do. It's like, okay, mom is on her bleed. Dad is going to take over. You need to give extra cuddles and extra softness for her. Like they know.
mm,
And
mm,
that's the best part, right? When you're already so in sync and already so invested in your own bleed, that's the direct transmission that she's already having. So a part of her cellular memory already knows.
yeah.
But overall, I would possibly call if there are any of her friends that would love to hold a little circle, possibly myself or someone from the family who does understand this kind of spaces and they do wish to gather together and just possibly sing some songs together if it feels alive, or just wish her definitely something beautiful, a blessing for her entrance in womanhood,
Mm,
something nourishing,
yeah.
something soft enough to just anchor that memory for her. And just like, wow, I'm walking into something meaningful. It doesn't have to be roses and flowers. Doesn't have to be celebration. Doesn't have to be fireworks and all the things like a massive, ginormous cake and all these things, unless it's aligned, of course, because maybe she's a Leo. I don't know. And she loves the drama and she
Like,
loves
throw me a party, mom.
Yeah. Which awesome. I'm on it.
Ah, that is so cool. And yeah, I love imagining what it could be, right? What this threshold, what this portal could be. I have a 4-year-old daughter. She's already like actively involved in my moon cycle. So like, she watches me change, wash out my menstrual cup and watches me like she was watching me paint last night.
Yeah.
And so she's like involved, and my son too. And we talk about it, and he's only 2, but I like the idea that our kids are growing up with this, and this blueprint and this talking about it. And the way you were describing this is like you're creating a ritual in a culture that doesn't have rituals like this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an act of rebellion.
Indirectly. I call it a compassionate rebellion because there's literally no inch of anger. There's no inch of, hey, I'm doing this because I want to go against the status quo. Like, I'm not absolutely interested in that. I am so interested in bringing the harmony and the peace and the love and the rejoice and the repair that this work is bringing. Like, I am in a state of total peace. And when the hatred is coming in, like the hatred needs to be meaningless. And when they come with hatred, they're met with so much love and compassion, which completely like destabilizes the person because they're used to just fighting and fighting all the time. And when we're fighting, we're completely coming out of the real essence of the feminine, in my opinion. We are the life givers. We are the ones who are bringing life. We look at Mother Earth. She's so patient with us. In just 2 seconds, she could just shake her body and just like completely terminate humanity. So I just feel like she's really gentle and compassionate with us. There's so many reasons why she could do that at any point, but she still has it. So thank you. Thank you, Mother Earth. So I
really important no, that's a really important distinction though, right? Like when I think about like a revolution or a rebellion, it has this like fight energy, and what you're saying is totally different. Like being like Mother Earth, gentle, patient, loving, clear, and loving.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean to allow, right, pain or hatred to penetrate us. Like there are the boundaries, and love can be absolutely fierce. But it's always the energy that is behind it. It's not that I'm pissed off and I'm just like hating on you and just want to terminate you just because for the sake of it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to chop your head off, but for the sake of liberation. This is what Kali does, right? And she's chill. Like she's okay. It's like, oh, okay, there's confusion there. Let's just chop the head off. Just eradicate the root of suffering. And you can be rebirthed now into light and love and peace. Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Right? That's the intention.
Let's cut the head off the confusion, love the human.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Humanity. I love humanity.
Yeah.
I love this life. I love Earth. I love the evolution. So we want more of that. But can we rise into a whole new level of interacting? And I really think that blood has a huge piece in that.
Wow. Amazing. I'm curious. So you're a mother. You have 2 sons. How old are your sons, by the way?
One is 3 and the other is 6.
Oh, cute. So we're close. I'm 4 and 2.
Oh my gosh. Such a beautiful age.
It is. It's really cute. I'm curious about how motherhood has kind of changed your view on this work, what it's shifted in you, the whole journey of pregnancy, birth, and becoming a mother.
It shifted everything. It was the missing link, I would say, into really grounding and anchoring my work into something more tangible. Because I didn't even want to become a mother. I remember that very, very clearly. I was like, no, this life, I'm just going to be alone. I'm just going to run. And that's usually trauma speaking. I understand that because there's not support. There's lack of, of understanding and the emotional intelligence and integrity and the real community and like all of these pieces of real good, healthy relationships with the men, right? And I just understood over time meeting my husband. For first menstrual art, first filling up my cup, then manifesting my husband, and then having the perfect husband that slowly allowed my nervous system to relax and open up so much so that even the idea of children coming in my life felt like, yeah, of course, why not? Yes, this is so beautiful. This is so aligned. And when I got pregnant with my first child is actually when my business was born. So I really felt the masculine, right? The male, the boy, this life force of just like direction and and really getting things done. And just like it was the first time I really had this first idea of like, oh, I should have a business. I should have a full-on
Mhm.
business. And the pregnancy was amazing and was lived with so much curiosity and awe of what is going on in our bodies. Like everything is shifting, everything is changing, hormones are shifting. We never experienced that height of hormone in any time of our lives if not pregnant. So
Mhm.
like there's just so much. There's a pregnancy high, and I had to also understand the experience of so many other women around me because I really understood that that's not the case for everyone. So it was really a lot of curiosity, a lot of newness. I was still learning all of the information and all of this wisdom as I went on because we're not taught, right? There's not a class that you can take. Now, yes, fortunately, because there are more and more women doing this work, but not a structure or a societal structure that teaches you everything that you need to know. So it was like trial and error and picking and choosing and looking for all that wisdom while I was just growing this life inside of my womb. And the birth was amazing. I had a home birth. Both of my children were home birthed,
Mhm.
and they were in the candlelight, they were with the incense, they were with heaven music. I was also belly dancing, so I learned a lot about the importance of swaying your hips and opening up your pelvis and allowing the baby to really come out more effortlessly for this reason. And it just informs. Like I would say at the end of the day, it's informing everything that I do. The level of patience, the level of stretching into your edges and meeting those edges over and over and over again that children bring is priceless in the good and in the intensity of it all. There are moments where I just want to, again, chop heads off, metaphorically, but it's those moments of stretching and meeting those edges and meeting them with compassion over and over again that is informing how I meet up with my clients, how I meet up with hatred, and the level of devotion that I bring in my work. So
Mhm.
everything that I do in my life, it's for them. It's for them because I know that I'm raising boys and men that know exactly how to tend to a woman's body. They're witnessing their father just taking care of their mother and bringing flowers every time that she's having her bleed or giving her a caress or kissing her forehead and loving on her. And they just understand what it means to hold and touch and really meet a woman from her place of power and wholeness, which is everything.
Love that. Yes, so beautiful. And what an amazing journey. I can relate so much to that image of like growing my first baby and then like voraciously learning about like, okay, what are counter because I knew the culture that I was birthing into is not the one that I wanted. I'm not going to go with the mainstream on this one. I haven't gone with the mainstream on most things in my life, but especially not pregnancy, birth, postpartum. And it was a lot of learning. My kids were also born at home, similar like candlelight and music, and like we kept the placenta attached, and we just did things all in our own way, and it was so empowering as a woman. This rite of passage, and it's another threshold, right?
Yeah,
This birth,
for sure.
pregnancy is another feminine threshold, and treating that
Absolutely.
like a ritual, like a ceremony, not
For
as
sure.
a not just it might need to be medical, but not just as a medical thing to manage.
Hmm. Yes, that's such a that's a major topic of the medicalization and the severance, right, of women's power when it comes to birth. I think that birth work together with death work are both super relevant, but mostly how a child comes into the world.
Yes.
How a child comes into the world. If having your bleed and how you're met with your first bleed informs how you feel as a woman, how
Mhm.
you're coming into this world as a child informs your reality as a human being,
Oh,
which
big
like
song. Yeah.
possibly even further, like the kinds of hands in which you are met.
Mm.
Like in the most medical environments, the baby is pushed out usually with oxytocin or like there's so much
Oxytocin.
manipulation
Yeah.
and
There's
everything
that.
just has to be fast because oh we're having a lunch break and we need to get over with this as soon as possible. Let's just get a cesarean. Like you're completely bypassing all of the miraculous biological, physiological happenings and necessities that happen when a baby comes out of a woman's womb and
Mhm.
from her belly. Like there's so many things that are so necessary for that. And they're met with hands that are rushed.
Yeah.
And they're just grabbing them and they want to slap them to make them cry. And then there's these flashing lights in their eyes. and they're already dressed up without having the first contact with their mother. Like there's just so many things that are just so inherently wrong.
Yeah. Agree.
Without taking away the stories of the woman who had no choice, right? Who didn't have, because there's always a way to repair. Like repair is the most important thing to do. But
Mm.
if we can consciously bring back the awareness of how much power, how much beauty, how much necessity, how much naturality it comes from giving birth in a natural way can bring to the nervous system of your baby and your own nervous system. It's best to avoid it if we can. That's why knowledge is power. Knowledge is power.
And it comes back to what you were saying before, I think, of realizing these are important moments, right? This is a moment that matters. When a baby comes out, the hands, how they touch the baby's body for the first time matters. The lighting matters. The feeling in the room, the fact that they can be immediately close to their mama or not matters. And I think that culturally we've forgotten these threshold moments.
So much so. And I love doing the body work now because there's a specific kind of touch. There's a specific type of presence that can really unravel completely a nervous system. I've also had the privilege to work with some male bodies.
Yeah.
And every time that I work on the male body, we always at a certain point arrive to the moment of their birth. There's always a moment of birth work in which I really feel that under my hands there's a newborn, and I just feel the body start to unravel or sometimes like squirming, and there's like voices, there are sounds that are coming like a little baby because possibly when they were born there was a touch that wasn't really regulated. There was something that happened that brought them in this connection from that, and having that deep exhale from the body of like, ah, I'm being met again for the first time. Wow, like it just unloads centuries of garbage, of trauma, of heaviness that our ancestors even brought
Mm.
with us, right? And I look at the world and I look at, I don't know, Trump, I look at Putin, and I'm like, if only these people were birthed and born into an environment where there were loving hands, how different would the world be right now?
Mm. Mm.
Questions to ponder, right?
Right. I can imagine you would move through the world totally differently if you were met in your most tender moments with that kind of love and devotion. If somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, okay, I've got repair that's needed. You know, maybe I have birth trauma, or I'm a mama that gave birth and have trauma from that. Or, you know, my initiation into womanhood was traumatic. What is the first step you'd recommend they do?
Wow. So speaking to women specifically, I would just advise my own story, which is getting connection with your blood, because blood has something so tangible to it. It's the only seen aspect of our woman's body.
Mm.
And everything that is woman is really hidden in the shadow, right? I mean, if you think about the vagina and the vulva and the uterus, everything is internal. Everything requires you to really work on your third eye, onto your felt sense, into the unconscious rounds. It's all shadow work. It's constantly shadow work. You got to get comfortable in meeting the dark over and over again. So for who is still, it feels like a too big of a world, and I'm like, I really can't grasp that yet. Let's touch on something that is actually tangible, and
Mm.
that's the blood.
Mm.
The blood that comes out every single month. It's the blood that you're having and you're not dying. It's
Mhm.
something, there's so much contemplation to be had. And I do remember in the beginning when I was painting, etc., I was just like, wow, like this blood is actually something that is coming out of my own vagina. So my vagina is actually a pretty cool place. And that's where the curiosity came in. So like if I get to really release something for 5, 7 days and not die, and this is actually something that is coming without the violence, without the killing, without the brutality, there's something so beautiful about it. I want to get curious about that. Let's get curious. So meeting that over and over and over again. And from that space, I do feel that the blood will actually start to inform and guide where you need to go. Possibly it's more about the menstrual cycle awareness. Possibly it's how to relate to your tissues in a way that really allows you to drop in and unfurl all of those stories. How does your vulva want to be touched? We're so used to the porn, we're so used to friction, we're so used to like a lot of active and restless energy, whereas tissue loves slowness. It loves presence. It loves to be met and depth. So what is the pressure that you like? What is probably stillness? We're not used to stillness. We're not used to having our fingers just placed on the entrance of our vagina and just kept there without doing anything. The stories, the amount of stories that come from that. Oh my goodness. Like there's so many beautiful, less is more. That's what I heard also. Less is more. You don't have to be doing this, he said, giving your blood to the plants, becoming like this high, crazy priestess and going on a full on initiation. Like less is more. Just bring your finger inside of your entrance, lit it there, breathe into it for 30 minutes and just see what happens.
Amazing. We've come full circle in this conversation. We're back to menstrual. I want to make it just like even more tangible for someone who's listening. Like, all right, I'm painting this cycle.
Okay.
What do you need? You need a menstrual cup. You need a paintbrush.
Yeah.
Canvas.
And paper.
And paper. Any other tips?
That's it. Honestly, that's all that you need to start with to begin with. So I know that some can feel a bit uncomfortable with menstrual cups. This is something that I get often, so I just want to name that. If a cup feels a little bit uncomfortable because again, there's this sealing, right? There's this tapering and always inserting something foreign inside of your body. So I can understand the discomfort that comes with that. I like to be in the middle way. I use it to just like for the first days in which there's the most flow. And then I release it and allow my bleed to also come out because the downward descent of the energy is important to have for also longevity and vitality of the tissues. Or in case you use water wipes. They're water wipes. They're made of like 99% water, 1% of, I think, an organic juice. And you can fold it, apply it on your vulva, and just wait that the blood soaks it all up. You get the soaked tissue, and then you squeeze it in a jar, and you're having your blood fresh to use. It's more difficult to retrieve it from pads because the pads absorb, so it's really difficult to squeeze it out. You'll get really minimal. So, like I just found this hack of the water wipes that worked very, very well.
Good to know.
Either cup or water wipes. That's really great. Collects the blood. You will need a jar where to place the blood in. If you're intending to use it immediately, perfect. You can use it right now. If you tend to store it and use it in another time, store it in the fridge. It will be okay up to 5 to 7 days before it will start to smell a little bit funky because the process of oxidation will start. So if you plan to keep it even further, place it in the freezer and that will go on forever for all the time you need. So this is a preservation piece. You can use a paintbrush. You can get creative with your hands. You don't have to use a paintbrush if you don't have it. Even just using a fingerprint. I have this entire artwork made only with my fingerprints, for example.
Oh, I love that.
Just one finger, like beep, 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 beep.
Oh, okay. I'm inspired for next cycle.
Yes, or your entire hand, mom. Like you can play with the sensations, play with the elements. I actually recommend using fingers sometimes because there's just so much felt sense in your fingers. So really getting into communion with your blood, right?
Intimacy there.
A lot of intimacy. I love that. Yes.
I asked ChatGPT, okay, give me tips. And it was like, wear gloves. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
There you go.
That's why you don't ask AI how to get intimate with your body.
AI has no clue. Like on female things, it's getting everything wrong. Everything wrong.
It's like
everything. It's gloves. Okay, no gloves.
Okay, we're not gonna use gloves. So fingers or paintbrush.
Yeah. Cool. Or the paintbrush if you like to get into the details. I love detail because detail means more presence. Detail means, you're bringing a lot more intentionality in what you're bringing. So play, just play. It can be a word. It can be you're writing down a prayer. It can be tangible. It can be intangible. It can be just a smear. It can be something more figurative, like whatever feels right and good. And that is really bringing to life what happened in your past month or what it is that wants to be allowed in that moment. You just need paper. I do recommend watercolor paper because I just noticed that the blood reacts so much better on watercolor paper. So you can actually use the blood as watercolor.
Yeah.
So you can also sometimes dilute it with some water to create some shades, right? And other than that, honestly, like it gets to be that simple. You don't need much. You don't need all this preparation. You just need yourself. You need your blood. You can use directly the paintbrush from your vulva. I've seen women do all sorts of things.
Straight from the source.
Straight from the source, just free bleeding on a free bleeding blanket, getting the paintbrush and just picking it from their vulva and just painting. Perfect. Like, get crazy, get nitty, get free, get wild.
Yeah.
That's where the healing is. Yeah.
Oh, so good. I love that. I also have yoni prints behind me on the wall. And at my women's retreats, we did yoni prints. So we painted our vulvas and then sat on a piece of paper and printed
Wow.
it. And yeah, it was so cool. I don't know now about paint on the vulva. I feel a little ick about that, but the idea is beautiful. So I'm
Do
gonna
with
do
the
this as my
blood.
next art.
Do with the blood.
Good. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's
Just
a
when
good
you're free
idea.
eating, you just sit on it. Perfect. And then from there you can create a little bit of doodles with your fingers or with the it can be so beautiful. Actually,
Yeah.
that gave me an idea too.
Oh my God, I feel so inspired. Now I just have to wait 25 days for the next one, or 20 days or whatever.
Yes, for sure. And
Oh,
when you're pregnant, no, when you do get pregnant, this is my
yeah.
prayer for you, of course.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, of course, there's going to be the grief, the loss, because there's the trying, but always preserving that blood because when you're pregnant, you're not going to bleed. And I do remember my first pregnancy, I wasn't prepared for that. And it was like a huge stress. I was like, oh my God, what I'm going to do for these 9 months without my blood.
Oh, that's true, right?
So I started collecting it and storing it in the freezer. So I learned that with my second pregnancy, and I had all of my freezer full of all of my bleeds, and I was so happy because every month I could just still dedicate and devote to menstrual art, even if I was pregnant. So
Wow.
preventative.
Oh, very cool. Okay, I like that. Thinking ahead, storing it.
Yeah. So you can use that blood. It was like, okay, it's the blood of loss, and I'm gonna use it for when I will finally get pregnant, and so I can still continue to emerge with this beautiful practice.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Oh, well, it's been such an amazing conversation. We went
The
to so
best.
many different places. We talked about, menstrual art and birth and pregnancy and the earth as our bodies and our bodies as earth. And yeah, what a journey.
Manager. Thank you so much. This
Yeah,
been
thank
gained
you.
so much. Thank you. It's been so, so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And for anyone listening, I'll make sure that all of Jasmine's links are in the show notes. So you can check out her website, her work. She has an amazing shop too. I'm going to buy one of your yoni blankets from the shop. It's on my wish list. And so many like yoni body loving products on there. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
All right, go make some menstrual art, everyone. I hope this episode touched you. If you loved it, share it with a friend or family member, or you can leave a review to help get the word out. Thank you. Until next time, root down, open up, Eros and Earth.